Hello and welcome to the United Stand. It's the Sunday night show, the flagship show of the United Stand. You're all very welcome and lots to talk about as usual in relation to Manchester United on this Sunday night. And interestingly, as I said this morning on the Ramble with Robbie, one week until we go on tour. I'm joined by Alex and Ross. They're audio tonight, they're not visual, which means you get a bigger live comments box. But I'll start off with you, Ross. The live tour, the US tour. A week today. They apparently, I got mixed up really because I had been hearing for a long time that we go back in training on the 8th, and then I thought, well, the 8th is a Saturday, so it must be the Monday, the 10th. But they are actually training on the Saturday, and then they're flying out on the Sunday, and that's a week before their first game. So not long at all till they're off. I'm going to have to ask you that question again, Ross, because typically in my rush there, I didn't get any audio for you. We did get audio for me, but we didn't get any audio for you. So yeah, I was just saying there that that must have been great just watching me listen to you in silence when I heard it. So yeah, I was just saying there about the US tour starting on, well, 2 weeks till the game, but they go on tour next week. So just repeat what you were saying there.
Yeah, basically, it's a lot of people are starting to panic because it is quite soon that we go on tour and we've only got one signing wrapped up. But I'm still quite calm about where we are. I just hope that we'd get one in before we go away. But do you know what? I'm not holding my breath because this whole 48 hours Manchester United thing is starting to get a bit of a joke to me. But what's even more worrying is that I saw a clip of Wayne Rooney supposedly running while he was on holiday, which he's supposedly done every day, but which shows some intent from him, which is great. But I think he's going to go on the tour, which means that this Rooney issue is just going to drag. Which is, as well as I want signings, I'd have liked to have seen more people exit United early on as well. Which, you know, there's been no rumours of anyone really going as far.
Yeah, it is interesting in relation to this week. I mean, the show is pretty much entitled Manchester United's Biggest Week, Alex, and are you like that? I know you're normally quite relaxed, but as Ross was saying there, we will be on the tour in a week. I'll just say what my thought is. I have lots of thoughts about it, but my main problem is what Ross was on about there, is that it looks like at this rate we will be taking players on the tour that I don't see the point in taking Rooney. I know, but maybe Manchester United are happy with that, even if they're going to sell him in late July, early August. Maybe they want to take Rooney because he's a big star.
Yeah, that is a possibility that because of his star power and it'll sell tickets. But I think when United go abroad, we're not really affected by the inability to sell tickets. It's always a sellout wherever we go. Like you saw that game in Michigan I think it was last pre-season, if not the one before, where we played Real Madrid. And it was in front of 100,000 people and literally 90% of it were United fans. So we'll sell out even without Rooney. I think he just will stay next season. I've said it on the show before. I really don't understand why, because he's going to play even less than he did last season. And there's a World Cup coming up with England, so I guess he's just accepted that his international career's over. And I think it must be Colleen trying to force him to stay to get that extra 300 grand a week for however long his contract's left for, rather than fight to play, because they just want to secure the future, I guess, for their family, even though they're still going to get paid a lot elsewhere. But in terms of signings overall, I'm not really that angry about it. This week on the show, that I wasn't expecting us to make any more signings before the tour. We've royally fucked up this window, it looks like, with in terms of Ed Woodward. And people say, oh, don't panic, the window's only just open and all that. But you really think Jose, when he went on holiday, was expecting to only have one signing by the time the tour kicked off? That's a complete and utter lie.
No, I do agree with that. I said that this morning on the Ramble, that whatever anybody thinks about the 1st of July or whatever, The reality is Mourinho was very clever in what he did a few weeks ago when he publicly said, I gave this list to my chief executive. I think he said it about 2 weeks ago. Back in April, I'm not stressed, it's down to him now. There's no way he would have expected to be hit in July and just have one signing. That things have gone wrong. Whether they can be rectified, Ross, is another matter. I mean, some people are still thinking we might make 3 signings this week. I mean, what do you think? I mean, apart from this, and it's mythical, the July 1st date, because it is mythical. I think people think, oh, July the 1st, it's all going to start happening. Bernardo Silva, Lindelof, how did they happen before July the 1st if it's all about July the 1st? They can happen. Do you think that this week's going to make any difference? I mean, historically, we have done business in the early start of July. Last year, it was Zlatan followed by Mkhitaryan very close together. I think the year before we had Schneidlin and Schweinsteiger and Darmian all in July, if I remember correctly. So all early July as well. Do you think, I mean, Susash has just said there, 2 this week. Are you expecting there to be a difference because we are into that week before the US tour?
I don't expect us to rush it just for the sake of 1 week. I think there's a reason why we haven't signed anyone up to now. I don't know the reason. I really haven't got a clue, but there's reasons for it. Because it seems like a lot of the best and quickest transfers, like Lindelof, are done they're not even done sort of past May. They're done in January time. And clubs are still negotiating with players, March, April time. They're like, that's when Mourinho said he'd give his list over. So Woodward would have started then, regardless of if we had Champions League or not. So I do find it strange as to why these deals have been held up. There has been leaks. We do know the players. We know the guys we're after, and we kind of know the figures. I agree with Perisic. I'd have dug my heels in and not spent 50 million euros on him. I'd rather look elsewhere. I think he's a fantastic player. I just don't think he's worth that much. Same with Morata. I really want him at United, but I just don't want us paying 80 million euros for him. I really don't. I don't want us to get mugged off. So that's probably the reason why they've stalled. And you can't dig your heels in for this long and then panic in the week leading up to the tour, because in theory there is still, over a month's worth of window to go and to potentially look elsewhere. But the problem is the players are, they're running out because other teams are picking them up.
Yeah, there's a good point here, which I was going to bring anyway, but thankfully, as expected, somebody in the live comments has mentioned it. There's the Spartan Red says Griezmann messed up our plans. Lindelof was actually a deal that we were going to do in January. I got a lot of stick for it, but we were going to do it, and it got put off. I think it was to do with the fee in his previous club, and it got put off. So a lot of the work around Lindelof was done back in January. That's probably why it was quite a straightforward transfer to do. The Griezmann deal, I mean, the work was done on that one. He just pulled out at the last minute. And then every other deal is not been done. So I don't know. I've got no answers anymore. I suppose as a fan, I'm sort of, because the press don't know anything either. Nobody knows anything. I would say that nobody knows anything about when it's going to happen or what's going to happen. I still think Morata's probably the most likely, but it wouldn't surprise me if that was just all a big smokescreen. Although I do expect him to sign. He's back from honeymoon now. I think that one can be done this week, and it's probably the most important one we need to do because we need a number 9. But the reality is that, Alex, when you look at it, I mean, I sort of stick up for Ed Woodward. I think a lot of his the bad things is to do with Moyes and Van Gaal, but it is a massive week. I know, as Ross was saying there's still a massive amount of the transfer window left, but Mourinho, as we know, if anyone's ever followed him, he's a man who likes to get his business done early. Last year he got it done early, but he didn't start till July the 1st. He's basically had June wasted, really, on what he wanted. And do you have any reason as to why? Why do you think that is? Do you think it's because it is the Perisic and the Moratas being overpriced, or do you think it is that there's this stuff going on that nobody's really aware about, that maybe we are waiting on Ronaldo, 9 goal and people like that?
No, I don't think it will be a surprise like Ronaldo or anything like that. I think it is just, but you can't use an excuse of Morata and Perisic and stuff being overpriced, because as Manchester United chief executive or whatever, that we get overcharged. We've always got overcharged, and now with this Premier League TV money coming in, we're going to get overcharged even more. Every Premier League team is, but Man United always pay a premium on top of that anyway. So it's not really an excuse. The Lindelof one, like you said, it was probably already most of the negotiating done back in January already. So we've done literally nothing if you take away him. It's just farcical, really, because we said on the show like last season that we wanted everyone to be ready for the pre-season tour this time around, because like we were missing Pogba last season, and I can't remember if Mkhitaryan came or not. Oh wait, yeah, he did. Sorry. So we were missing Pogba last tour, and we wanted this time to have everyone ready. Well, now it seems we're going to have even less people, so they're going to have to be going on their pre-seasons with whichever club they're at now, and we're just going to be stuck with only Lindelof getting it back into shape, and then stuck with like the same old characters like the Rooneys, the Smallings, and everyone who we thought would be gone. So I'm really not that optimistic. And like people say, oh yeah, it's only just started the window, but as you've said, it hasn't only just started. It's been open for ages, and negotiations have been going on for ages. And I just don't want us to be in another situation like we were with Moyes, where we chase unrealistic sign all summer and then end up with Fellaini on the last day of the window.
There's a few people in the live comments saying that the Matic thing just stinks of Fellaini. We'll mess around all summer. Chelsea will get the player they want, and then we'll get Matic, which is I don't want to dwell on that too much. Daryl Johnson, I hope you do get well. He's just popped on to say he can't watch tonight, but he'll be back for Skype tomorrow, so I hope you do get well soon. But that's a really good point from Alex there. I mean, I'm old enough to remember a lot of transfer windows, but that's something that's just popped into my head there. It's all right saying, well, we can go on the tour and then we can still get the deals done. This will remind everybody who's had a few transfer windows with United. I remember it with Vidal. It's like we went on tour and then Juventus went on tour to Asia. And obviously we never got Vidal. But as soon as he was on that tour, you're like, we're not going to get that deal done while he's over there. We're going to have to wait till he comes back, which is the start of August. And this is the thing. Everyone just thinks that, because we're on tour, we can still sign players. But these players are at other clubs. They will be doing their own tours, and that makes it far, far more difficult. A lot of clubs want it to be done sooner than that. The one thing I would say, I don't know whether you mentioned Perisic, Ross, is, well, one, do you think that deal will be done? But two, I'm slightly baffled by the Perisic deal, because I've seen players force moves from clubs before. If Perisic wants to come to Manchester United, I don't understand how Inter Milan are able to say, pay 50 million or we're not selling him. I mean, we've all seen it with players before. He effectively said goodbye to his fans at the end in May, forced the move, and we'll get him for 40 million. I mean, no one wants a player who's not happy.
Yeah, it's absolutely spot on, and that's what a lot of players have done to leave United in the past is force the move. Ronaldo, Ruud van Nistelrooy famously did it, but and that has annoyed me because Morata, these players come out and I don't want to force the moves, I don't want to upset the fans, but once you go, the fans are going to forget you anyway, especially Madrid fans. They do not care about their players. They just care about the titles. So he might as well force the move. There's no love lost there. And that does wind me up because, yeah, we'll overpay for him, but we can get him cheaper. And it's the same with Perisic. And it's the same with any transfer, like you said, about a tour, because the players have to force not to go on these tours. Because, if they go, then that transfer, in theory, is on hold for a couple of weeks at minimum. So that's where the players have to dig their heels in, and that's, where you say it gets interesting this week because the players have to force a move this week if they want to leave their respective clubs. Now, Perisic, I think, is the least likely to do that because even though he, wants to play for United, he has a future at Inter Milan and he will play first team football there. Morata has no future at Real Madrid. If he wants to sit on the bench again, all well be it, but I think they're going to buy another striker anyway, so he'll be even further down the pecking order, so he has to force the move.
Tyrone Williams says, Manchester United are not the only English club to be taking a long time. None of our rivals have signed anyone exciting either, which is true. I mean, apart from City, Bernardo Silva was an exciting signing, and that happened a long time ago. Yeah, I would agree with that, but I think the thing is that we all know because Mourinho's told us. This isn't speculation. I can't sit here and say we all know we want to sign Perisic and Morata. We think we know, but it's all from the press that could be lying or don't know. What we do know is, because it came out of Mourinho's mouth, is he gave the list to Woodward in April. Somebody even said February today, but I think it was April. And he expects that to be done. And Mourinho is a manager who likes his business done early. So let's not judge ourselves by other clubs. What we're going to judge ourselves by Arsenal. They're normally buying in the last week of August. But so I don't really compare to anybody else. And if you want somebody, Everton are doing great business. They've done some fantastic business very, very early. I just think we struggle because we're Manchester United, and we're struggling for some reason because it appears to me we're being a little bit weak if these players want to come to United, they've got to help us a little bit. If they start forcing the issue, then that will help us. But I mean, I don't know. I mean, how advantageous is it to have these players on the tour, Alex? I mean, some people just said there, we signed Van Persie, he came in, quality players don't take long to adapt.
Yeah, that is true, but it's just better so you can control like their fitness and stuff. Like we don't know how, if they're not wanting to be at a club, like for example, Perisic at Inter, then are they going to put all that effort into the pre-season, which hopefully they will, but also, if the club hold a grudge against them, they might not be playing them in the pre-season game, stuff like that. But obviously, it isn't the end of the world. But it would just be useful to have them getting a bit of like team chemistry with their teammates and all that. So I would really want it done. But obviously, it looks like it isn't going to be done now. What I was wondering is if we get players like during the next few weeks while the team are out on tour, if that new signing will fly out to the tour, or if they'll just train back at Carrington, which I'm not sure about because I don't think it's ever happened that we've signed someone while we've been on tour.
No, somebody was on about Schweinsteiger, but that was before. He signed with Schneiderlin and they both went on the tour. I remember that a couple of years ago. There has been somebody whizzed by, saying that we have got 2 pre-season games and the Super Cup before the league starts at the end of the month, which is great. Yeah, that is fine. But yeah, it's... The other issue is that Mourinho is buy first, sell later. So the longer it takes for him to get the players in, Ross, the longer he will take about making his mind up who's going to go. I mean, we've mentioned Rooney there. I don't know what your opinion is on Rooney as to whether he should go on the US tour or not. I mean, I'm convinced he will. But it's not just Rooney, is it? It's people like Ashley Young, Januzaj. These are players that I think, or hoped, we might get rid of. I don't really see what the future they have at United, but they'll probably be going on the tour.
That's the point I think that we all miss sometimes, is that, we all sort of beg and cry for these signings, and rightly so, but unless we get rid of players, what's the point in having these players? What's the point us bringing in £200 million worth of talent? So what's Jesse Lingard, Wayne Rooney and and co and Ashley Young starting, first game of the Premier League season? Because that's what will happen, and that's what's always happened. So I'm more interested to see who goes. And, like you say, Rooney on the tour. Why would I want to go see Wayne Rooney on the tour when we've got Pereira? And he's the one we all want to see. And can you imagine the absolute uproar? And I could just see it happening. If the first game off the tour, Rooney plays, Pereira's on the bench, you'd be like, what the hell is going on with our club? And that's what I don't want to see. So, yeah, the signings are great. But, it would be good for this tour. I'd really love to see Fosu Mensah play a lot on the tour. I think there's a lot to get excited for, regardless of signings. I'm just really desperate to start clearing out this deadwood now. Too many centre-backs now. Ashley Young still, pinching a living out of us. And Wayne Rooney as well, who, I love Wayne Rooney. He's probably my favourite player that's ever played for Manchester United. That's a big statement, but that's how I feel. But now, I just want him out of my club, and I know that sounds really horrible, but I just don't like this Rooney debate, and it just really winds me up, and I just wish it disappear. And we could say ta-ra and thank you very much.
People just talking on the tour, Alex. There, Pereira hopefully will go. Angel Gomez, do you think he will go? And obviously, sort of picking up on that point, there is. Your likes of your Januzajs and your Rooneys, if they go, they're going to get minutes, and they're minutes that could be used elsewhere.
Yeah, that is the problem. In terms of Angel Gomez, I really hope he goes. I want to see more of him, and it'll be good to get him a little bit more integrated with the first squad. Obviously, I don't think he's ready to be playing that much this season, if at all, but it would still be good. Like we took Pereira on when he hasn't really been playing that much first team football for United. So yeah, with Januzaj, I didn't even think of him. We haven't even sold him yet, so that he is a possibility that could go. But you'd hope that common sense would prevail in situations like that, and that we wouldn't play the likes of Januzaj. I've seen all this workout video of him running on the treadmill, and yeah, so he is trying to get in shape for the tour. You'd imagine. That Mourinho always said he's not going to force Rooney out because he's a club legend and stuff, but it is ridiculous that he's staying, and I hope it doesn't lead. He had a good attitude about it last season, but I just hope he keeps up a good attitude this season, because I don't even think, to be honest, as harsh as it is, what an amazing player he's been for us, he's not even really good enough to be on our bench anymore, I don't think. 'Cause he doesn't really make that much of a difference when he comes on, when he starts. The only good thing he was good for, like last season, was in these like cup final games where we brought him on in like the last 5 minutes because his experience of being able to waste time and hold it in the corner and stuff like that. But in terms of as an attacking outlet, I really don't think he offers much anymore. But it's sad to see who he comes in. But he clearly isn't willing to like fight for his legacy, because unless he's deluded enough to think that he could still be like the #1 guy at United, which fair play to him if he thinks that, but I don't think he's even going to get a chance to prove that. And in my opinion, he's definitely not able to be our #1 guy anymore.
It's an interesting one because I think you look at how Schweinsteiger was treated blindly. Mourinho came into the club blind, obviously listened to a few people, some of which may have been Rooney, about Schweinsteiger and what he'd been like the season before, and just made his mind up. You're in the training with the kids, you're not part of my plan. Schweinsteiger proved him wrong, and Mourinho even admitted he got it wrong. This summer, he's had a year to look at Wayne Rooney, and you could argue that he tried to get rid of him in February. He did. He was quite open about it, and Rooney wouldn't go to China. I'm sure he'd like to get rid of him now. How he deals with it is another big test of Jose Mourinho, Ross, because this is a man who is on £300,000 a week. It's not a case of, yeah, you can be part of the squad. It's Wayne Rooney. Some people call him a legend. Some people just call him a great. But he will be the biggest earner, not involved. It will become an issue. And the reality is, part of me thinks, well, if we can't get rid of him, let's use him. But my eyes are as wide open as anybody else's. I mean, how are we going to use him? He's just not good enough anymore. And that testimonial for Carrick a few weeks ago, how he can get put in the pocket of Jamie Carragher, who's been retired for 50 years, that is, he is a professional footballer, and that is just a signal of just how far he's fallen. But this is, I mean, I don't want to say I don't blame Rooney, because realistically, as much as he's been a great for the club, he should have some loyalty to the fans to think, look, I'm not going to mug the club off for 2 years. I need to go. If he sits and just earns his money, I think that is slightly disrespectful. But ultimately, it's Woodward and Moyes who gave him this bloody contract in the first place. I mean, he's got another. People say he's only got a year left. He's actually got potentially 2, because he's got an option for another one.
Yeah, I don't know why Jose. I mean, I don't like to always bring him up, but I think Fergie would have. I know he tried before, but regardless, I think he would have forced him out this season, and I don't think he'd let Rooney sit on the bench. I think the fact that he let players like Gary Neville, Ryan Giggs to some extent sit on the bench was because, one, they were absolutely happy to sit on the bench and do anything for the team. They weren't demanding first team football. And two, they weren't on huge contracts. I mean, they all standardised contracts and they're all mid-range salaries in the team. And that's why they stuck around. And that's how you stick around at a club like United. If you are the biggest earner, you have to be the best player in the team and the most influential player. If you're not, you either need to take a serious pay cut or leave. And do you know what? I think Rooney could, if he wanted to become an absolute legend at the club, if he said, look, I want to stick at it, I'm going to work my nuts off, and I'm willing to take a pay cut, I think we'd all stand up and, give him a massive round of applause, because that takes some absolute balls. But footballers won't do that these days. They'd rather just sit, waste time for a year, give cool time on their England career and earn the money. And that depresses me, not just for Wayne Rooney, but just for football in general. I think it's a terrible mindset to have.
It is. I mean, he, as Alex said, he has a chance to go to the World Cup. There's no reason why he can't go to the World Cup. You look at the England team, it's no great shakes. It's not. And Rooney, if he believes he can get back, there's no reason he can't be part of that World Cup. He won't be part of it as a Manchester United player because he won't get the games. But if he went somewhere else, he could get it. But as Ross said, has he got that fire? Has he got that passion to go and do it, or is it just about the money? Personally, you know what? I've heard it thrown about today. I'm going to want to get both your opinions and everybody on the comments to get replying to this point now. There's rumour that £30 million and he can go. £30 million and he'll go with a payoff. I would pay it. Alex?
Yeah, I would pay it, but I don't really think it's going to happen, to be honest.
And Ross?
Would I pay it? I'm not so sure,
the alternative is he's just going to sit at the club and, pick up his money.
It will. he'll sit at the club and we'll pay him the money anyway. But to be honest, from a bit, I don't like to talk about this, but from the business point of view, the club are probably pulling quite a lot of money from Rooney shirt sales, and I don't know who's buying them, but people are. And other forms of revenue will come from him. So I think the club would rather keep him than pay him off. I can't really see that happening. And again, why have we got to pay him off? Who's coming up with this £30 million figure? I'd hope it's his agent, but still, you want the club to show you respect. You've got to show the club respect too, and you can't use this as a cash cow. I don't like it.
Anaban says he would pay it. Yemi says no. Hell no, let him rot in the reserve, says Yadman TV. Well, I mean, that's an extreme point to do. The problem Mourinho faces is that, look, I would agree that let him rot in the reserves if you don't want him, or do what you did with Schweinsteiger, but the press would just be all over that, and then it's negativity around United. I think the 30 million, Ross, has come from the fact that he's got 2 years left on his contract, and if he's saying I'm not going, United might have to come up with a package where they say, well, there's £30 million. That's 50% of your remaining 2 years paid off, and you can go and get another club for free. It's a ridiculous turn of events though, because back in February we were offered 40 million by a Chinese club, but Rooney doesn't want to go to China. He has totally got us by the balls. Let's be totally honest about it. He has us by the balls. Not good enough to be part of our team anymore, but part of such a golden handshake contract that he can basically do whatever he wants. And it is a problem that I'm surprised not many people have picked up on, to be honest. But there we go. I'll ask you, Alex. I think you've already answered this. Are you expecting any deals in or out to be done by the time we go on the US tour next Saturday?
I really hope so, but I highly, highly doubt it. I said last week that we wouldn't make a signing this week, and I'll say it again that I don't think we still will make a signing. It's just depressing to think about, but we don't even seem close to any players, unless, like you said previously, if we do sign someone, it'll probably be Morata. But aside from Morata, I just don't see anything happening. Matic, that they're really the only two that I could see happening if they do happen. But I fully expect us to go on the tour with the normal team, and the likes of Rooney will be going.
Yeah, a lot of people are asking when is the tour squad announced. Well, it's only this morning I realised we were going on the tour next Saturday, so I imagine the tour squad could get announced unless anybody actually knows, pipe in, but it could be done on, well, I'd say Wednesday or Thursday is probably realistic, a couple of days before we go. So the thing is, though, we've heard all these United fans saying July the 1st, that's when it matters, and then we're not going on the tour for a week and a half. Loads of time. There isn't. It really is closing in. Ross, are you expecting any? Would you want? I mean, I did say last Sunday I expected 2 to be done by this Sunday. It didn't happen.
No, it's all gone very, very quiet. Eerily quiet, to be honest. But I think the reason why that is because all these fake in the know accounts that have been putting out 48 hours every 2 days for the last 2 weeks have had to go quiet because they just look ridiculous. I'm going to go with one. I think someone will come. I don't know who. I don't even think it'd be Morata or Perisic. But apart from Matic, we haven't really been linked to anyone. I think all these Renato Sanchez, Douglas Costa stuff, I think that's rumours that us fans have kind of manufactured because that's what we want. I haven't really seen a lot of concrete sources coming from anywhere that we're actually in for them. Same with Fabinho. I know there was a little bit of Di Marzio, but I think that's more the player wanting to come to us. So I'm struggling to see who it's going to be, but I'm going to go with one. I just can't believe that we're not doing anything. I think we must be doing something, and something's got to come through.
Stephen Muzzy says 2 deals this week. I'm going to go with Stephen Muzzy. I think there will be 2. I've got no logic to it. I just think I do think Morata will happen this week. The reality is, when you look at it, if we are in for Morata and Perisic, why wouldn't those deals be done before we go on the tour, really? And Fabinho, I pray that we're in for Fabinho. I mean, why could that not be done? Matic, I just hope we're not doing him, but he can wait.
Do you reckon Joe Hart will be done this week?
I spoke about it this morning. I don't know what you think, Alex, but if we sign Joe Hart, football's dead for me. I'll still watch it and I'll still watch United, but I can't, and that would just be ridiculous. It would just be a real slap in the face to United fans, because I know, I know a lot of people didn't want Matic, but Joe Hart, I mean, and why are we paying for him? Why are we paying for him? Their other reserve goalie's just gone for free. Why are we paying for Joe Hart when he's a City reject?
God knows, considering our backup goalkeeper is comfortably better than him as well. He didn't even have a successful time at Torino, so I don't even know why he's being linked with us. But luckily, it's just the Mirror and the Daily Express, so it's no one that's opinion's worth anything.
No, good. Hopefully not. Right, want to do this bit now. We were talking about this on air. I put a tweet out before, which was quite well received, and so I thought we'll keep this back for the Sunday show because we were talking on the Saturday show, really interacting with the comments. So I want to do that again. But just to give you a little bit of an idea as to what it will be, let me have a look where it is. Quote tweet. Well, what is your unpopular opinion? What's something that you really do believe that you probably don't mention that often because you know it would be unpopular with United fans? So let me just read some of them out while Ross and Alex think of theirs. Danny Collins says, I'm actually glad that Zlatan's left. You know, probably an unpopular opinion, but a nice one. Sign players, please. Well, no, at 1 Foot Valencia is his name. He says Fellaini had a decent season at United. Unpopular opinion, but it's what he thinks. Memphis never got a chance, says at Timo741143. And at XXWDKWD says Mark should do more drunk live streams. Well, that won't be happening, so you can stick with that. At Real MSD9 says Smalling is one of my favourite United players. I actually do like Smalling. I'd agree with that. And let me see if I can find another one. Good. Morata's now in Italy, by the way, for people who want to know that. Rooney should just leave, says at This Is Minded. And Rooney will come good next season, says Peter at Red Bull 123. Jose will be gone by Christmas, says at Jordan Colley 91. And Pogba's not worth 89 million. I think we all agree with that. I mean, Pogba's a great player, but we all know he wasn't worth 89 million. We had to pay it to get him. And Mourinho will leave us in less than 3 seasons, says at the Filthy Gringo. A lot of people saying Rooney still has a lot to offer. I don't know whether that's an unpopular opinion that people share, but I just want to grab another couple before I get the lads. Oliver Wakefield says we're getting Ronaldo. And, well, at DNG Ara says Pogba was a flop last year. So, Ross, I know you've been thinking about it. What would be your unpopular opinion? I've got a few, to be honest, but what would be your unpopular opinion?
I've got two. The quickest one, which would be the most unpopular, is I think that Matic would, regardless of who he is or who he comes from or what his age is, I think he'd seriously improve not only our team but our style of play and help players like Pogba flourish. So I'm not really against that deal at all. But yeah, I don't voice it so much because it is dreadfully unpopular. But that's just my thoughts. And my second one is kind of, you spoke about it the other night, which I think is a bit of a dream, which is the opinion that if I had it my own way and I could have a chat with Jose and make him do one of two things, it would be to probably only sign a forward, leave the rest, and let's go it a year and give these young lads a chance. You know, give Fosu Mensah a bit more of a chance. Try Andres Pereira, because I honestly believe we've got so much talent in our, not just in our reserves, but in our youth that are not ready to come through yet. But I think you've got to go through the stages, and I'd like to see it. And sometimes I see it linked to a player, you know, and we're going to pay 25, 30 million for. And I think we've got 4 or 5 of them in our, you know, youth and reserve teams. Let's not give them a go. But again, it might be quite unpopular because people like the signings.
Craig Curtis, his unpopular opinion: I was happy when Fergie left. You must be mad, mate, but it's your opinion. Steve says Lingard's not a first team player. I think that's a very popular opinion. I wouldn't say it's an unpopular one. A lot of people saying, yeah, I agree that Matic would be a good signing. I mean, one of mine, before I go to Alex, would be that I think Romero's crap. I really do. I think Romero is a rubbish goalie. I really, really do.
Just to dive in there, I had a really unpopular opinion, which was to sell Romero, because I actually think, given the market for goalkeepers this season, we could get a hell of a transfer fee for him, and Pereira's just as good.
Yeah, I mean, he's at the peak of his powers because he's just won a tournament. But no, I don't rate him at all. I think all these people who say, just develop the point, I think all the people who say, oh, he could be the replacement for De Gea, I just think, where have you been? What do you watch? I mean, he's never had a great career apart from playing for Argentina. He struggled to catch a balloon, as I've always said. In the Premier League, he would cost us so many points. I think he's perfect for like the Europa League, where it's every now and again and it's European football. In the Premier League, I think he'd be absolutely annihilated, and within months we'd be going. Everyone would turn on him. But as I can see in the live comments, this is meant to be an unpopular opinion. By the way, that's the whole fun of it. But it's my unpopular opinion that I firmly stand by. And being Argentina's #1 goalkeeper doesn't really change my opinion on that. But Alex, have you got one?
Yeah, I've got one that will be a very, very unpopular opinion. That if we want to get to like the latter stages of the Champions League or win the Champions League, if you look at the likes of Juventus, look at Real Madrid, then Herrera and Mata aren't good enough to be starting for us.
Whoa, that is good.
I know that'll be a really, really unpopular opinion, but if you look at all the top teams even in the Premier League, they wouldn't get into them. And I do like them as people and I do like them as players, and they are good squad players. But if we want to go to that next level, I don't think that they're good enough to be starting for us.
I did say it about Herrera, probably around Christmas time. I don't know whether... I don't know. I mean, I don't know. I think the problem is we are so far off being a Champions League winning side or even a Premier League side that it's hard to know whether we can do it with Herrera or not. I did say it at Christmas myself, so I can't be a hypocrite and say that I've never thought it. I just felt that Herrera in a midfield three, we need a better midfield three than that to win the title. But I think we could win the title with him. But I think the centre defensive midfield position is so important for us. I think if you had Fabinho, Herrera, and Pogba, that's a good midfield three. But no, it's interesting, and that is your opinion. Tommy McHugh says he thinks James Wilson could be a future star. Another one for me, Ross, is that I don't think Marcus Rashford's any better than Danny Welbeck. That is a joke. That is a joke, by the way. It is a joke.
Yeah. Moment of silence there, mate. Do you know? Just go back to Alex's one. I totally agree with him with Juan Mata, but I disagree with Herrera. I think it's quite telling that Barcelona are going in for him. And yeah, he's not a midfield talent. He's not a maestro, but I just think, if you look at famous United teams, you wouldn't have said that Ji-sung Park was good enough to win a Champions League, but yet he was. And I just think Herrera's that sort of player for us. Bit of a workhorse, never going to be the best player in the team, but with talent around him, will probably quite often or not turn up with man of the matches when it's needed, which is what he did for us to a point last season.
But if you want to get to like the very, very top, you could swap Herrera with the likes of Arturo Vidal, and now midfield gets a shitload better.
It does. Yeah, no, I totally agree, mate. It does. But I think like you said, it's squad player. You have to have him there. And I think in the big games, he might just creep his way in because, there were some times, and I keep going back to him. I mean, even Darren Fletcher, Ji-sung Park and Darren Fletcher managed to work their way into some of the biggest games in United's history and perform like absolute man mountains, both of them. And I think Herrera's that sort of player, and I agree, we need so much more talent in our midfield. I just think with him in the squad, he might always just nudge his way in and nudge other players out because he's just got that absolute, mentality of him against the world, and I just love it. Yeah,
don't get me wrong. As a squad player, I'd 100% keep him in the team, and obviously he'll get a lot of games throughout the season. But I'm talking about, like Mark said, we're miles off being a Champions League winning side. But I'm saying if we want to get to that next level, then I wouldn't be starting him.
Shaka Phillips says he'd rather have Phil Mitchell in goal than Joe Hart. I'd agree with that. But no, I think the Herrera thing is probably indicative of the whole team at the moment, because I was just thinking when you were talking there, the pair of you, forget whatever your back four is. If you had a midfield three of Herrera, Pogba, and I don't know, let's say Nainggolan or Fabinho or whatever, that's a good midfield three. But if you then had a forward, like of the ilk of an Aubameyang, and then you had on the left hand side you maybe had a Bale, and on the right hand side you've got Mkhitaryan, then suddenly that's a very, very strong side. And I think Herrera could be in that team there. The problem at the moment is whatever your midfield three is, if you've got Herrera in it, we still don't know what the players are in the three attacking positions and whether they're good enough. And I think that is, I think Herrera can be part of a Champions League side for Manchester United, but we desperately need to improve the quality around him, because at the moment the only star quality we've got is Pogba, really. There's potential in there, but we need to improve it, and I think it's a big season for so many people next year. I'm going to throw in my unpopular opinion here, because I know everyone's going to have an opinion on it, and I'm doing it towards the end of the show. So before I say it, can please everyone just drop a like on the video, and remember that I am doing this as a bit of fun, but it is my unpopular opinion. But please like the video before, because this might lead to a few dislikes. My unpopular opinion that trumps anybody, trumps any opinion. And I know it's unpopular because I've mentioned it a few times in the 3 years we've been doing the United Stand. Wayne Rooney is not a United legend. To me, he is not a United legend. He is a United great, and that's the ceiling. And I can't lie, I don't like bringing it up because I know it causes so many, people are going to go fuming in the comments box now. But he's not a United legend. For me, he is not a United legend. There is just something that holds it back. And nothing to do with him handing in transfer requests. Although for some people that is the reason. I just think, he was given the captaincy and he should have gone on to have the best 3 years of his career. He was given a massive contract. And I think it's just been absolutely appalling what he's done at the club in the last 3 years. Given the keys to the kingdom, really, the captaincy of Manchester United, massive wages, and he's just been average, absolutely average. And that, for me, even if he was touching greatness, and I'm just adding to that, the last 3 years, his last season under Sir Alex Ferguson was atrocious as well. He really, really wasn't that great. So you could say it was 4 years. And that has just sort of killed off the legend status for me. I mean, he was amazing at the start, some fantastic goals, but I don't know, there's just something that holds me back. I know he's a legend for you though, Ross.
Yeah, he is. He's a legend. Legends can be what they are to different people, and for me, he's an absolute legend, no doubt. I think his legend status at the club will develop over, when he's not here. But for me, you're a legend in the club when you're in the history books, and you're in, and he is. He's our all-time top scorer of Manchester United, and he's beaten some ridiculous legends on the way. Well, a lot more, legendary than him. But I think when you get to that prestige in your club career, he's a legend of football. He's a legend of English football for me, because in my time watching England, no player in their prime, not over the time period that he played, but in his prime, I thought was the most phenomenal player I've seen play for England. And that's my opinion on it. And it's my opinion for Manchester United. I've said this before. He's a player that through my whole career, even at United watching, he never disappointed me. Only in the last 3 years, which I try and forget about. But I mean, even the debut, the 3 goals against Fenerbahce, I just thought it was just it was unbelievable. And for that, for me, absolute legend.
It is, I knew it. I'm not afraid to do it. I think it was a great question. What's your unpopular opinion? The whole point of an unpopular opinion is it's my opinion that I know is going to be unpopular. And I have said it a couple of times before. He's just not a Man United. He's not a United legend for me. I can't lie to you. But a lot of people feel he is. Ross is. I'm not going to argue with you. That is your opinion. As Kev says in the live comments, all-time top goal scorer for United in England. But the transfer request changed fans' opinion of him, which I know it did for him.
Can I ask you quick, do you think Ronaldo is a United legend?
I have said in the past that he is, but I think on reflection it would be wrong to say that when you're not saying that when you're saying that Rooney isn't. And he did force his move from United, but I don't agree with the goal scoring thing. I think a lot of people are saying he's our all-time top goal scorer, so he's got to be a legend. I mean, you look at his games to goals ratio compared to Sir Bobby. If Ronaldo had stayed, he'd have annihilated it. So Rooney's been fortunate in many ways in relation to how long he's been here, and being the sort of player he is, he's scored a lot of goals. But it's not through. I don't want to get into this, but it's not really about he's been here because he loves Manchester United. What?
Rooney's goal per game ratio to Bobby Charlton was much greater. Bobby Charlton's our all-time appearances. I think Bobby Charlton's is
wasn't a forward though, was he?
No, agreed. But it was the same for England. He did it in, I think it was the same amount of games or +1. But yeah, agreed, he wasn't. But then Rooney played half of his career sort of as a midfielder potentially.
Yeah, but going back to that, I mean, he's been at United for a long time, which is why he's the all-time goal-scoring record. If Rashford stays here for 10 years, he will break it. That's just the way it will work. But you know, I know it's unpopular. That was the whole point of the bloody question. But I can't change my mind. For me, he just isn't a legend. He's a Manchester United great, and I can't help it. Alex, have you actually said? I know we've spoken about it before. Is he a legend for you?
Yeah. For me, he's for sure a legend. But I asked the Ronaldo question because I don't think Ronaldo is personally, but because I think if you look at his goal scoring record, which okay, you can include the 28 goal one, that was a good season, but that was after Fergie begged him to stay, and it was nowhere near as good as his 40-odd goal season from before. And I think if you're just gonna go off like Ronaldo being a legend, I think he's our best ever player in terms of ability, but. Yeah, he did win us the Champions League and stuff like that, but then we go into the status of his RVP a legend then because he carried us that season and stuff like that, and I think legend is thrown around too easily. But I think when you look into it, Rooney for sure is one in my opinion, but I understand why some people don't think he's a legend, mainly because of the transfer thing. And you say about the goals per game thing with Bobby Charlton, I think his last 3 years have really damaged that sort of stats because he's been playing and been obviously useless the last 3 years, so it's really affecting the ratio.
Would you, and I'll ask everyone in the live comments about this, Kev again has said Rooney's not a red, he's Everton through and through, respect what he's done for United, but he isn't loyal. James Arnold says Dennis Law was a legend, which leads nicely into my next point. And everyone on the comments answer this as well. Would you give, if he's a legend, lads, because he's a legend for you, Alex and Ross, would you give him a statue outside Old Trafford?
No chance. No one from the modern era deserves. Well, actually, no. I would give the class of no, but that's the only one in my lifetime, really, in my lifetime that deserves a statue outside Old Trafford.
Ross?
Yeah, I'd agree with that. I wouldn't give him a statue. There's too many variables and too many things that have been a bit controversial throughout his career. But you could say that about some of the class of '92. You could argue that, you know, should Beckham get one? But yeah, I'd agree. I'd have the whole sort of 7, 8 of them, you know, and I'd have that outside Old Trafford from our era. That's it for me. Maybe Rojo in 5 years' time.
Or the whole treble, like a statue, if you could somehow do it of the treble winning season team, that one.
We could go on all night because I've got another unpopular opinion coming up. But SJ has just said he's just subscribed. Great channel, keep it up. What a time to come on the channel, and if we've got you to subscribe, that's even better. So you're very welcome if you are new. We are actually doing unpopular opinions, those opinions that we have that we don't really ever let out because we know that people aren't going to like them, and we all have them. Somebody just said there, I hate Luke Shaw. I never wanted him to come to United. I don't, you know. Everybody has that. This is the great thing about football. It's the great thing about life. Everyone has different opinions that aren't part of the status quo. So, look, if you think Rooney's a legend, fine. You know, I've got 2 people on with me tonight. That's fine. I'm not going to argue with it. I can totally see why, but for me, not quite. My other unpopular opinion that just popped into my head then when we were talking about statues, there's only one player from the last 20-odd years that I'd put a statue out there, and that's Roy Keane. And people can argue about that, and I know a lot of people do not like Roy Keane because of his punditry, but if you watch Roy Keane play for United, I get quite frustrated by how much press the class of 92 get. The class of 92 wouldn't have been anything without Roy Keane. Roy Keane was the leader on the pitch, especially that first season with Cantona and Schmeichel, and then obviously Cantona retired and Keane kept that on. If you listen to the most of the class of 92, they'll tell you what I'm telling you now. Roy Keane, without Roy Keane in that team, we wouldn't have won half the things we did. They were a talented bunch, but he was the aggressor, the binder. He was basically Sir Alex Ferguson on the pitch. And the reason Keane doesn't get a lot of the respect he deserves from United fans is because he fell out with Sir Alex Ferguson, because they were so similar and tempestuous. And ultimately, you fall out with Sir Alex Ferguson and you are out. But for me, Roy Keane is an absolute legend of Manchester United, the most decorated Premier League captain in history. He single-handedly kept that 99 run going in Turin in the semi-final against Juventus, and he's an absolute legend. And I would give him. I'm not saying he should get one, but if I was giving anybody one from the last 25 years, it would be Roy Keane, without a doubt, and in my opinion. And I know that's an unpopular opinion, but again, it's one I'm really passionate about. Silence.
I'm sorry. Yeah, I do understand where you're coming from, but I just think he's slated us so much in bitterness towards Fergie since all that drama that I think a lot of people would be very unhappy if he got a statue. Obviously, for what he did, he was an absolutely incredible player for us. They always have the debate of who's the best captain we've ever had out of like Robson and Keane and all that. But in my lifetime, I think Keane would have been our best. I don't hate him now, but he pisses me off now because he's just constantly slating us all the time. Even when we had Fergie, like towards the end when he was on that ITV role, just constantly slating us, and it really annoyed me. And he's still doing it now, and he's just so bitter about United, as if he doesn't give a damn about the club, to be honest.
I think they chewed him up and spat him out, and he's probably a man who, he knows he did a hell of a lot for that club and the success for that club, and in his mind he feels that he has been treated badly, which he probably has. And he isn't going to back down, and I agree, he does let that bitterness come out way too much. But for me, what he did in a Man United shirt will always endure over what he says on punditry. And as I said, bringing it back to the present, Radji Nainggolan is the closest midfielder in world football to Roy Keane, and if we could get him, I think we'd probably win the Premier League, Ross.
Yeah, and the thing about Nainggolan as well, he can be a bit of a prick as well, which is exactly what Roy Keane was, and that's why we loved him. But I'm with Alex. Fantastic footballer for United, and yeah, probably on footballing merit would deserve that. But I think to get a statue, it needs to be footballing merit and also what you do off the pitch. And yeah, since he's left United, and since he was forced out, regardless, Beckham was forced out. He didn't act like a sport brat for the 10 years after. A lot of players are forced out United, and they didn't act like that. And I just think it's bitter and it's poor, and he's still, the fact that it's like 20 years on and he's still not over it, I think it's absolutely ridiculous. So yeah, based on that, no. But yeah, I agree with what you're saying on football merit, but you need a bit more than that in my eyes.
A lot of people in the live comments are saying Ryan Giggs, and to be honest, I think that's a good shout. I think it's a safe bet that he probably might get one because, but as Alex said, maybe a collective class of 92, because rightly or wrongly, the class of 92 sort of have taken on, even in our lifetime, this mythical sort of, they almost get compared to the Busby Babes. I say almost because they shouldn't be anywhere near that, but the class of 92 were very good. But let's not forget, the class of 92, essentially, Giggs, Scholes and Beckham were very, very good players. But Neville and Neville, Darren Fletcher level, good players, but the three stars were Scholes, Giggs and Beckham, and the other three, all very good players, but because they came through collectively, it's a big achievement. I don't think we'll ever do it again, but we've got some great young players coming through at the moment. But who knows? Anything can happen in football. I think the thing is, when you live it, you think, oh no, that'll never happen. But in 20 years' time, more nostalgia, there might be a clamour to have a class of 92 statues, and they certainly achieved a hell of a lot, but I do think that there were other players that were a massive part of why they were successful, but that's not always the way. Cantona statue, says Kev, that'd be interesting. And Dondry Stoica doesn't want Ronaldo to come back.
Just quickly on Kev's point, I'm actually surprised that there hasn't been a Cantona statue, and it wouldn't surprise me whatsoever if there was one, and I think everyone would be happy if there was one.
Yeah, Enigma, not successful in Europe, but was definitely, there's that famous picture, isn't there, of him in the throne with all the babes there, the class of 92 around him. Yeah. Well, we'll have to wait and see. That's for future. You can tell there's not a lot going on with United at the moment when we're talking about stuff like this. It's like everything on Twitter at the moment. Everyone's been going on about Ruud van Nistelrooy's goals and all sorts because there's nothing present. We're all looking in the past because there's nothing in the present really. But I think it's about to kick in this week. I hope it is anyway, because I would be appalled if we go on this tour next Saturday in the same situation we're in now. And I think there will be some backlash from that. But maybe we'll do it when they come back from the tour, but Anyway, thanks for coming on, Ross.
Cheers, Mark. Enjoyed that tonight, mate.
Me too. You can follow Ross at Hazard90 on Twitter. And Alex, thanks for coming on.
Yeah, thanks for having me on. Good show, guys.
And you can follow Alex at AxAS23. Remember to like the video, says Wayne Brilliant. Yeah, remember to like the video. Subscribe to the channel if you are new. And remember, tomorrow night at 8:30, it is the Skype Goldbridge show. So you get to Skype in. I will not script it, and you can get to Skype in and have your say. Maybe we'll be talking about a signing. Who knows? But I'm sure there'll be plenty to touch on. One thing's guaranteed. Monday morning, there will be something in the press, even if it's total nonsense about Manchester United. But thanks, everybody, for coming on. There will be some competitions coming up. You what? We have got some competitions coming up. But especially around the new kit, when that comes out, the new home kit. We gave 2 away for the away kit, and we'll be giving 3 away of the new home kit. So when that's out, we'll do that. But big week for United, off on tour on Saturday. The squad will be something interesting to react to. Somebody has already said tonight that Angel Gomez is not going because he's going to be with the youth setup. You know, if we didn't have Rooney and we didn't have Yannisai, maybe he would be going. But thanks for watching, everybody. Speak to you all soon, and back tomorrow as per usual.